Let's do this. So, Dan, how you feeling now that you're back home in West Virginia, like about a week out after Cocodona?
Yeah, it feels good. It feels good to be back home, like with my girlfriend and my house and my cat and just normal life and back to work. So it feels good to be kind of down off the high, I guess.
Yeah, it seems like your life kind of maybe life didn't change like exponentially or just crazy, but it seems like Cocodona is a big deal, and like for you to run Cocodona and like run such a good race and get so much media buzz, and then like go home, it's like man, I bet that's like kind of crazy, right?
It is. It was definitely more media buzz than I had expected. Like I knew the race was big, and like that's one of the reasons I wanted to do it. Um, but I didn't realize how big maybe it was. Like I knew how long it was, but I didn't know how big of a deal it was. So it's been kind of odd dealing with that.
Yeah, it's interesting because like the media, like just around Cocodona from Jamil and those guys is like crazy, right? Like they hype it up like crazy, but did you have like I could hear a cat back there. It's pretty
Oh,
funny. No, it's totally cool. It's totally cool. It's just funny. What was it like when you got home? What was the media buzz like there?
I mean, it was good. I mean, of course, even before I got home, I had people like like the local news channels reaching out and bugging my crew and just like trying to get talk to me and which is fine. You know, it's cool. Everyone was excited about it, so I wanted to tell them how it was or whatever. Um,
Yeah, like so. What was it like though? With like I don't know. I guess I'm really familiar with like running media, where everyone, especially in our world, is like, oh yeah, you ran 100. Like let's talk about it. But like outside of the sport, people are kind of like, okay, they just think it's insane to like one run a marathon, but then you do that like what 10 times essentially at Cocodona, where people are just like blown away.
yeah, I mean, people didn't couldn't really fathom it. I mean, at least in this town, like in Little Huntington, dude, we had like stuff was not working right. People weren't working. They were just watching the live stream. Like people were calling the shop, the running shop I work at, calling Roberts and like asking updates. Um, like we had a really slow day at the shop because it was like I don't think people were out. They were just watching the live stream. It was insane. That's what they said at least. I mean, people at like like my boss Robbie he took his kid to the dentist during the race and like they were live stream. They had they people who I don't even know or don't even run had it put the live stream pulled up.
Dude, it's
That's
pretty
just
funny.
that's just how West Virginia rolls. They are tight. We are a tight knit community. It's insane. They were like, there's this West Virginia guy who's leading this giant race. Let's watch it.
Dude, I think that's awesome. And it's like not to get too far like in the weeds, but like I think it's so cool that like the media hype that Jamil's built around Cocodona has like
Oh yeah,
transcended more than just the sport. It's like for so long it was like people that ultra run like only care about ultra races and like no one from the outside even like cares at all. But now it's like random people are like, oh yeah, Cocodona's going on. I want to watch it. That's pretty sweet.
yeah. He's done such a good job, and I mean, just being the face of it, but then also just pioneering like the quality of the live stream. Like investing however much money it costs to live stream something that clearly in the middle of the desert. It's awesome because I mean anyone can tune in and watch parts of it at any time of the day, and there's something going on. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's pretty sick. So I guess for people that don't know you, like you ran sub 13 at Haveling 100 last October, right in 2024.
Hmm.
And you've done like wild other ultras and stuff. So like, why did you decide to sign up for Cocodona? Because like you have plenty of options, and there's seems like there's like endless 200s now. But like you chose Cocodona, which is like the most competitive 200 out there.
Yeah. Well, I've always wanted to do Cocodona. Like I heard about it a couple of years ago, and I like wanted to do that. I was like, oh, that's like what I want to do. I've always kind of wanted to just. I've always had this like thing that I just wanted to run as much as I could, and I felt that really young, I guess, like in high school. But I was like, well, I can't do that because I run cross country and track. Like that's not really an option. And then I ran in college, and I was like, well, I can't really do it now either because I run cross country. Um, and so, like, I've always wanted to do something like that. And then I heard about this race, and I was kind of doing trail races then, and I was gonna do it, and everyone's like, well, my people around me are like, well, maybe you should just like, use your speed while you have it. Like focus on your speed, like 100K, whatever, 100 mile, and I found that I really loved the 100 mile distance more than like a 50K or 100K for sure. And then I was my buddy ran it last year, Ryan Ramsby, who was on my crew this year. And I got to pace him. I got the honor to pace him and crew a little bit for him. And I was just like, screw it, dude. This is next year's the year. Like, I'm not waiting. Cause I had gone to like Black Canyon and then gone to, Javelina and kind of ran a good time the first time I ran it, but it was, still out of reach of a golden ticket, but it was still like a good time. It's just like the sport's progressing so fast right now. It's like, if you want to be competitive, you have to get in. If you want to like catch a break, you have to get in at the right time with something. And so I was like, screw that. I'm not going to wait for the 200. I'm just going to go ahead and do it next year, because by the time I wait around and do it, they'll be running like 48 hours for this thing. So, you know what I mean? I don't want to show up my first year be like a great year 5 years ago. And so I signed up and was excited.
That is interesting. Like just that the whole mindset of like, okay, you're young, so like run fast because you can still run fast. But like as the sport's getting faster, we see younger people running longer distances. Where historically it was like, yeah, you burned out, so now go run 100 or something.
Yeah, I think it's just do what you want to do. Like whatever you have the passion to do, just go for it, because it's like it's not going to wait for you to get to the point you think you need to be at to like do something. You can, if you really want to do it, like and you're capable enough and put the work in, like that's the one you should go do it.
Yeah, definitely. And like Cocodona, I think specifically, or just 200s in general, is like there's such a unique challenge. Like running itself is like a challenge, and obviously in so many ways. But then like you throw in like the distance, and there's like so many more variables. It becomes more of like it's not just like a 5 hour run. Like it's a full on adventure at that point. Like especially Cocodona, where there's sections you're out there by yourself.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. Um, yeah, it's just a big. I kept telling people, they'd ask me about it before I went, and I'm like, it's just a big journey. I'm just traversing Arizona on foot, essentially. We won't be running very fast on average. It won't look impressive by the numbers, but uh, you're just out there traveling.
Yeah, I think it's funny, like just comparing like numbers, like just comparing like any sort of running to like whether it's short to long or short to long distance. It's like they're just totally different ball games at that point. Like running like a marathon compared to Cocodona is just like even running like a 100 miler compared to a marathon is just like they're just different sports. Like everything is so different at that point.
Yeah, I mean, my cat's going nuts. But yeah, I mean, it's different than a 100 miler, but it's also similar. At least how I kind of thought about it. Like I didn't think about it in multiple days. I just kind of thought about it as one big push. Um, and so in that way, it's similar. And you kind of I almost trained for it very similarly to how I would train for 100 too. So
Yeah, let's talk about your training because I think when I was out there, I don't remember if it was your crew or just somebody on the live stream was saying that you were doing 160-mile weeks leading up to Cocodona. Is that accurate, or
yeah,
is that
I
just a
did it.
rumor?
I did it a few times. I think twice.
Okay.
A lot of like 130, 140, 150. Um, Obviously, like over 100, most of it. Uh, which I think um, it was Rachel, right, who won. Or
Yeah. Yeah.
she. I always want to call her Sarah, but it's Rachel. I don't know why I do that. But she was running like very similar. From I heard someone say like she had averaged like 120 some miles a week leading up to that point.
Mhm.
And so that was kind of like me. I maybe had a couple higher weeks in there, but like it was very similar. Like I think it was like 2,200 miles I had ran in the year before I got to Cocodona.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And like then thinking more about that too, like you guys ran well, or you ran like an 18 something hundred off the start at Cocodona. Was that what it was?
Yeah, 1836 or 37 or something. It was silly.
Yeah, like it's wild to think about that because I think a lot of people would be stoked in general to run like an 18 something hundred, but then you add on another 156 miles after that, and it's like people just can't even fathom that.
Yeah, it was weird. I mean, I going into the race, I had thought, okay, best case scenario, we run 21 hours for the first 100. I was like, if we go 21 hours, things are looking good. And then we were like, at one point, I think we were on pace for like a 48-hour race or something ridiculous. We came through it. I came through at 1836, and I was like, wow, that was a little bit faster than I had anticipated. But everything felt fine, so I was like, well, it'll be okay.
Yeah. Do you feel like you guys went out really hot? Because it was like the big talk of the town was like Harry was just hammering into Crown King and you guys all came in. Like it seems like everybody was going really hard. Like, do you feel like you were pushing or was this kind of like whatever, just out here running?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I kind of felt like I wasn't really pushing too hard because I was off the front. I was like 4 or 5 spots back at that point, I think, in the beginning. So at no point in the beginning was I going crazy because climbing isn't my strong suit right now. And so I was kind of just like, well, I'll just click my way to the middle point, to 100 miles or something or whatever it was, till I saw my crew at like mile 80 to get a pacer. And so it was like, yeah, I didn't feel like I was stressed out or going too fast or anything, but I was surprised. I was like, well, damn, we're going pretty quick. Um, so that was interesting, but it wasn't terrible yet either. It wasn't like muddy or anything yet. And so it was maybe easier to move at a faster speed than it became later on.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about the mud and just like the terrain because like when I was driving up to Camp Kippa, like it was like snowing and raining. I mean, like slipping around on the roads, like driving up there. But like it seems like the trail was actually fairly okay. Like it was a little soft. It wasn't like muddy. But then like up on like once you got to Sedona up on the plateau, it was like pretty muddy and sticky, right?
Uh, yeah, I don't know when the mud started for sure, but I mean, yeah, it wasn't as bad in the beginning. Um, I don't know if I hit much mud by myself. I think it was like until I had a pacer, we started hitting mud. I'm not super familiar with the sections of the course like I should be. To be honest, I didn't do much course recon as far as that's concerned because I was like, it'll be marked. I'm just going to run it. I'm not going to think about it too much. I learned it as I went though, which was good.
That's funny. Like because Rachel was kind of saying something similar where I think she was saying that she's like, I'm just the horse in this team, like where she just does what she's told to do and just eats food and just goes. Did you feel like you were kind of the same, just like just following orders and running?
Not necessarily following, just straight following orders, but I definitely like fully trusted like the crew. So I was like, whatever. If I ask them a question, if they give me an answer, I'm not second guessing it. If they tell me to do something, I'm just going to do it. We kind of had a slight game plan of like what to eat and like kind of when to sleep or whatever. And I did just follow their lead. So I guess maybe yeah, kind of similar to her, but um, they weren't as bossy, luckily.
It seems like you guys are all like buddies and got along really well.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. So did you really plan that much then for the race? Like considering everything you just said was your plan pretty loose, kind of like go out there and just like run well and eat and sleep and then go for it? Or
My
what did you guys plan?
biggest Yeah, my biggest plan for the race was to just train adequately, like to train as much as I could. Because you can't really pick what happens on during the race, but I could train my ass off. Like I could train as much as I possibly could to prepare myself for whatever. So I didn't really think about the race too much. The only thing I had kind of planned for the race as far as like strategy is concerned or anything was, being runnable at the end or where the course becomes runnable, like being able to run, like and not have to hike. Like, and that was my only plan was just to be able to run at the end. And so to do that, I was like, well, I'll just prepare the best I can. And then that's what we'll do. I was like, I'll just hang back and run easy in the beginning, kind of bide my time. And then if I need to be runnable at the last 150 miles. So that was kind of the biggest plan. The only plan I had, I guess.
Yeah, but it's kind of it's kind of an unknown though, right? Like you've never ran that distance before. You've ran 100, obviously. So like, how can you even like plan to be like, okay, I'm going to run at mile 200? Like,
I don't know. I just kind of have like things in my head that I think make sense. And so like one of the things going into the race was if I can run 100 miles easily, then I can run 256 miles. Like I can compete. And so like a couple weeks before the race, like a month before the race, I ran a 100 miler in Pennsylvania, just a small one. It's called Rabbit Raccoon. Um, it's 8 12 mile loops. And so I ran that 100 miler, and looking back, it was like the perfect one because half of the race it was pouring rain and like thunderstorms and muddy. But I ran that race with like I didn't put no offense to anyone there because everyone there was really nice. I didn't put a ton of like push into it at all. It was like probably 70% effort, and I ran 17 hours, and I ran 100 miles the next week. And I was like, okay, I felt pretty much unscathed from that 100 miler. So now I have the confidence, like I could push for 250. Or like if I lay low, I know at least I can go over 100 miles for sure. So that was kind of like one of the things in my head. Like if you can run 100 miles easily in a race, you should be able to run 256 miles. It's like when people you're talking to and they're like getting ready to run their first ultra and they're like, I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can. Like I can only run 18 miles. And you're like, dude, if you can run 18 miles, you can run 50K, like for sure. So it was like the same mindset.
No, that definitely makes sense. It's like I know people are like, oh, I can't run if I'm going to go race a half marathon. I have to run a half marathon like beforehand. It's like why?
It's like,
Like
nah, you don't have to.
if you can run 5 miles, you can run a half marathon. Like
Exactly. So I used the same thought process for this race.
yeah, that definitely makes sense. And I guess like the fact that you could run like immediately after is like okay, you can gauge like whatever effort you ran at that 100 to extrapolate that to Cocodona or something similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely makes a lot of sense. So let's talk about your crew and the logistics of it because we talked about earlier, like crew is so vital, like for everything. It's like super important, and like you have like a good crew of people. Like they were just like stoked the entire time. They were fun to hang out with, and like they were obviously very critical to get you to the finish line in that time. So like, how did you go about picking a crew, and then like how did that all like kind of play out for you?
Yeah. My crew was great. I'm super lucky. Like I have such a great support system around me as far as like people I had out there, people I didn't have out there, my job, like my girlfriend, like everybody. And these guys that I brought with me, I mean, a lot of them volunteered instantly, or like they were like, if you run Cocodona, dude, we are going to be there. And so a lot of it, I didn't have to even ask anybody. It was kind of just like hey, just double check in, like, um, I definitely want you there. But yeah, so I guess like the crew rundown, I mean, everyone was in from the gun and was helping and there. But so to start, I mean, the crew chief, Isaac Waite, which you may have met, Dr. Waite, he's just a spirited dude, like super hype on running. He's had so much experience, like with European races on in US. Um, he's a like head engineer person at the school here, and so that's cool. But that means he's like super detail oriented. He's like really caring. So he was able to, he took on the burden of like logistics as far as like housing, flights, um, how to get to the race, the time frame of everything. We had everything planned out from like um, when we were going to eat to when we were going to drive to what we were going to do before the race, and that was a huge benefit to me because I didn't have to think about anything other than the training and the running. And then my buddy Ryan was there, who I paced last year, so like that's a huge wealth of knowledge as far as like he had done the same race last year, and I had been there for him at the end and like through the middle of it. And so just having someone that had done the exact same race in a different fashion, but like still had ran it, that was huge. And he's kind of took a lot of the planning on too, and like a lot of advice. And he became kind of like my gear person because he's kind of into gear, and I run with him a lot, and a lot of these guys I run with a lot. But he kind of took on the okay. If Dan says, "Dude, give me that freaking blue shirt," he knows what blue shirt I'm talking about. You know what I mean? So like that's was huge. Um, and then you have my brother Fred, who's just my brother. So like he knows me, he kind of knows my ins and outs. Like I grew up with the guys, so like they kind of leaned on him as far as like, well, if Dan says something, does he really mean it? And my brother would be like, nah, dude, he's fine. He's just being a baby, or like something like that, or whatever. Or I'd be like angry about something, and he'd be like, just let him be angry about it. He'll be fine in like 3 minutes. And so it was like stuff like that was like beneficial to have someone who knows you like at your core, you know? And then I had another good friend, Danny Hayes, who's just like kind of like a father figure in the group. He's like the enforcer, you know. I've ran with him a lot on like Sundays and stuff, and he's just always there. And I've hung out with him personally, and he's just a good dude, like just totally in and just like selfless. And he was like, that's the kind of person you want on your crew. So I was like, I need to have Danny there because if stuff hits the fan, dude, and like someone needs to like punch somebody out for whatever reason, like say our car gets blocked in, Danny's got to like pick up a car and move it. He's going to do it. So I was like, we need Danny Hayes there for sure. And then I had Logan, who's another buddy of mine, who I run with in Huntington all the time. And he was a student of Isaac's. And so he works at the Army Corps of Engineers, but he's just like super detail oriented, like kind of like savant level awareness is like far as like where everything is. Like you're like, dude, we saw this chapstick like last aid station and we put it somewhere like where, and he, before you finish your sentence, he's like, it's in the blue bag on the red zipper at the bottom to the left. And he would like know where it was. And so that was like super critical to have that guy there. Cause I mean, of course that's like great. And then I had Dave Fowler too. So Dave Fowler's, Ryan's brother-in-law, and he was at the race last year. And so he was a veteran crew of Cocodona and of other races. And he paced Ryan through some of his darkest sections as far as like mentally. And I've just shared a lot of miles with him. And I was like, dude, if he can get Ryan through some dark moments, I'm sure he can get me through some. And it came out to where like he paced me in one of my like sleepiest, like most fatiguey sections. And he got me to the aid station. We took a little nap, and it was like, I was like, dude, it was great that it was him. You know, it couldn't have been anyone else probably. I think that's everybody. That's 6 people. So
Yeah,
that's the squad.
sounds like a killer crew. And
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and there's so much more too. I mean, that everyone did, but that's the breakdown.
Yeah, so like, just because you brought up the sleep thing just now, we're going to jump around the notes a little bit. But what
Yeah.
section was that where you actually felt sleepy? Because I felt like I saw you at a certain point where you were kind of just like game mode and not talkative anymore. And I'm curious if it's like that same spot or I was.
Dude, I can't remember, man. It was like a super runnable section. I had to like hike a bunch of it, and it wasn't mud. It wasn't muddy either. God, what was that segment? I can't remember. I should remember, but I don't. But it was like pretty runnable and like flattish. It was kind of like we were still like in the desert type situation, so it was out in the open, and Ryan was gaining on us in that section. We kept checking the tracker, and it was like he was kind of closing the gap a little bit. And that was right before. So yeah, that was whenever I took a nap and he passed me. That's when that was.
Okay.
So I can't remember exactly what aid station that is, but I know that's because I was like, dude, I don't care what happens because we're going to have to take at least like 10 minutes or something. And
yeah, so then that would be after you left Jerome, I think. Like, so after day 1, so you're like 30-ish hours in, right? Because
okay.
he came in, so you go through like that big open desert on the way to Sedona, and you have Deer Pass in the middle. And I have a shot of you sleeping in the van, like with an eye mask
Nice.
or something. And then he left, and I think you ended up catching up to him before Sedona, if I remember right.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. So what was that like battling it out with him? Because it's like after a while, it was just like I was expecting to have like maybe 3, 4, 5 guys, considering the amount of talent that was running this year. And I thought I was going to follow like the top 5 guys and maybe like Courtney or Rachel or something. But like ended up being like you and Ryan for most of the film because you guys were just back and forth like for like 100-something miles.
Yeah. I mean, it was crazy. I mean, to be honest, I didn't really know who Ryan Sands was until I joined the race or whatever. And that's partly because I don't really know a lot about the sport yet, but also because, I mean, he lives in South Africa, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, well, I don't feel too bad because it's a different place. So, you know, I can't know it all, but it was crazy, dude. Because I mean, I just knew how just hardened that guy is. I mean, he's done some crazy stuff. He's never ran a race like this, I guess, but he's done things like this. And of course, I'm sure his crew is dialed, being a Solomon athlete and just being around in the sport so long, he kind of knows what's up. Like he knows what he needs, what he doesn't. Um, and just having him chase me down or vice versa it was crazy because I was like, man, that would suck if I just like get past and never pass him again. That would be absolutely terrible. Um, but we were still going so fast. There was like it wouldn't be that bad. It would still be a good time probably as long as I don't explode. But it was definitely weighing on you. It weighed on me slightly, but that kind of made it fun too. At a certain point, I thought, okay, I think I've got him. Um, but you still never know for sure.
Yeah, like you never know for sure. Like last year, I don't know how much you followed, but like with Browning and Derrick, like getting past there, like right outside Buff Park, is like you basically had the race in the bag, and then here comes Harry.
That would have been horrifying. I heard somebody. So we were at the finish line and talking to Jeff, and uh, somebody was talking to him, and of course they brought up the chase. They're like, "Dude, that was a great movie, like great documentary." And they asked him, they hit him with the question. I'm like, "Dude, don't ask that man this question. Why you gotta do that?" They were like, "What was that like?" I'm like, "Oh my gosh, you can't ask him that question, dude. That's a terrible question to ask this guy. He's just trying to enjoy the day, see his athletes come in."
Yeah.
I'm sure it was horrible.
I mean, considering that he couldn't breathe for like 13,
Yeah.
14 miles or whatever, and then like getting past there at the end after leading the race for 100 and something.
Yeah. I mean, he was still good spirits about it, which was
Yeah.
incredible. Just like shows to his like character. But um, yeah, I couldn't believe it. I was like, why did you ask him that?
Dude, honestly, like not to get too far off like into last year, but like it was kind of like I'm happy for Harry, but it was like heartbreaking to watch because like to see Jeff
Oh
take the
yeah.
lead and then just like push the race that hard and then see him on top of Eldon. I was up there with him filming and he's just like dying, like he can't breathe. And then to have him
Yeah.
like push, and then at Buffalo Park, like yeah, here comes Harry.
Yeah. I mean, you can't hate Harry because he's super like happy and
Yeah.
he doesn't have a bad mean bone in his body.
Yeah, he's a
But
good
you
dude.
just wanted to see Jeff win because you're like, dude, he's like the veteran. He's the ultra veteran.
Yeah.
Like this would be insane if he won.
Yeah, I know. But it like for as bad as it sucked for Jeff, like it made for a cool story though.
Oh yeah,
From a
it
story
was
perspective, it was
incredible.
cool,
Yeah,
but still sucks though. I mean, it's good for Harry though. Like good for him. He ran a smart race. So, like I don't want to sound like I'm like discounting what he did, but it just sucks for Jeff.
no, yeah,
So let's talk a little bit about fueling though, dude. Because like being so far, like you and Ryan so far up ahead, like it was like Patty Curry, Jamil's mom, was like setting up aid stations along the way, trying to like get ahead of you guys. But it seemed like you kept going faster and faster, and like you basically had to just like modify your fueling plan kind of on the fly, right?
yeah. I mean, not a ton, but as far as like, because we didn't really have a plan as far as like what I was gonna eat. I was just like, whatever they have there, we'll eat. Like whatever hot they have, I'll eat it. It'll be fine. We had ramen. That was the only set thing, which I brought. So I had cup of noodles. That was the only like set thing I had. Everything else, I was like, whatever, dude. I'll just eat whatever they got. It'll be fine. But they didn't have anything, so it wasn't fine. so they had to. So the crew really had to scramble, dude. They were like, it was insane. There's a story like they would tell it better, but just to give you an idea, like they had a window of time to get to an aid station that they knew that wasn't set up, or maybe they got there and it wasn't set up, and so they went to go get hot food, and the closest thing was a Denny's. This was before Jerome. The closest thing was a Denny's, and so they go to this Denny's. It's like whatever time of day, like not the time you go to Denny's. Some people go to Denny's. And like they roll in, and it's like the cook and the waitress. The waitress sees them come in, and she walks to the back and goes into the bathroom. And so it's just Isaac in there, or Isaac and Ryan, and they look at the cook and they're like, "Hey man, do you think you can help us out?" And the cook was like super chill. He's like, "Yeah, dude, like what's up?" And Isaac's like, I need seven cheeseburgers in 20 minutes. Can you do it?" And the guy was like, "Yes, I'll start right now, pay when she comes back out." And so this dude was like basically part of our crew, this Denny's cook, because he was like, "I will crank these burgers out as fast as I need to." And so apparently he cranked them out. He got them done in like less than 20 minutes. And we paid for them and brought them back. And I ate one. It was great.
That's sick. Yeah, like that Denny's guy like saved the day.
Yeah, dude. He was like, "I'll do it."
That's freaking awesome, dude. It was probably some like random time in the morning, like 2 a.m. or something.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it was. It was just crazy. Like it was just the waitress and the guy in there. But I think it's funny that they were like, "I need you to make. Can you make 7 cheeseburgers in 20 minutes?" And he's like, "Yes."
He was probably just like stoked though, dude. He's probably like, something to do and I can like challenge myself. Like just
Yeah.
challenge my fry
Plus,
cook skills.
I think they said too. I mean, the dude was like, "Oh my!" He's like, "You won't believe this." He's like, "I have 7 buns left and 7 to-go boxes. That's it." I'm
Dude,
like, "Dude, that was meant to be."
it's like divine intervention there.
Hmm.
That's
It
awesome.
was nuts.
So do you do a lot of your racing like that then, like for longer stuff where like you don't really have a nutrition plan? Because like you also had like Ensure or something, right?
Well, Isaac brought those because
Yeah.
where I couldn't get any like protein stuff. But I mean,
Okay.
I had like a fueling. I had like my gel portion, so I had like
Okay.
Tailwind. I was drinking Tailwind high carb, regular Tailwind, Morton's and Precision, and I kind of kept the caffeine off until about hour like 26, 27 before I started taking caffeine gels. But yeah, I was taking Morton's the whole time and Tailwind.
Yeah.
Which I've never done a race this long, so I've never really had to eat like other food other than like ramen.
Mhm.
And like the last 100 miler I did, well, like not the last one, but like a javelina. I mean, you're not eating food during that. You're eating liquid carbs, Coke, and gels. That's all you have time to eat.
Yeah.
So I haven't really had to.
So if you could estimate how much caffeine you had at Cocodona, like what would you estimate it at?
Dude, it was way less than should have been because we couldn't find the gels going up and over Eldon. I had caffeine gels in there, but we couldn't find them. So we thought they didn't put them in there, but they did. I don't even know. Probably not a ton. Probably less than 1,000 milligrams.
That's wild. Like I spoke with Adam Peterman after he won Gorge, like whatever, a few weeks ago, and
Uh-huh.
he did 1,000 milligrams during Gorge 100K.
Yeah, I don't. There's no way I took more than 1,000 milligrams because I definitely didn't take 10 Morton calves, and I didn't drink enough caffeine. I mean, Coke is like almost a negligible amount of caffeine when you compare it to like a gel. So I would say if it was over 1,000, it would be barely over 1,000, like maybe 1,200.
It's kind of wild because it seems like obviously there's nothing wrong with that, but it's crazy that like people get so heavily dependent on caffeine. Here you are going being awake for 2.5 days and like basically not even taking caffeine. Like that's not that much, honestly.
No, I mean I didn't take any for the first, like I said, 26, 27 hours. Like,
Yeah.
and I felt fine. I mean, I felt okay. Like I knew I needed to sleep probably, but like mental clarity was fine. Like pretty much the entire race.
Yeah, you seem super lucid, like all through like up into like Whiskey Row and stuff. You're like very talkative and chatty, and just like even leaving Whiskey Row, like I have a shot of you leaving, and you're just like screwing around, kind of like obviously you're serious, but like you're having fun with it, I should say, not screwing around. But then like up at Jerome too, like after like day one, so you're a full 24 hours in at that point. So you're like, I don't need to sleep, and your crew like asks you to sleep for like 10 minutes or something, and you
Yeah.
did, but like. I don't know. This is interesting because it seems like that's like a talent of yours, and to be able to go on little sleep and like,
Yeah,
yeah,
that was kind of like one of the things, uh, I had thought for myself that would work well, and I was glad that it did. Like people maybe said about me, like, "Oh, he's fast. Like, will he be able to run?" kind of thing. And I thought to myself, I feel like I won't need to sleep a whole lot. Hopefully, that is the truth. And it ended up. I mean, I don't sleep a lot as it is. It's kind of like a flaw in my like recovery and training. Like, it's not uncommon for me to go like a week and I sleep like 5 hours a night or less, or like around there. Probably less than that even. Um, the sleep, I was like, I function regularly with very little sleep as it is. So, and when I have something to do for a whole day, I mean, I'll be fine.
dude, that's wild. It's so crazy. Like I can't imagine just sleeping 5 hours a night for like on the daily, I guess.
Yeah, it's pretty regular. I mean, not all the time, but I mean, a lot.
Yeah. Cool. Let's jump around to like something that everybody was talking about in the live stream, which is the weather. Because like coming up Lane Mountain, like I was at Crown King, but like, the stuff from Lane Mountain looked like hail and sleet the entire time, and then there's obviously mud and it rained and snowed most of the time. But like, how did that weather affect you? Like, was it a normal thing for you, or did you have to kind of modify some things?
I mean, I never really got super cold or anything like that, so that was good. if you had the kit, if you had your required kit, I mean, you were good. It was never like super duper cold, and um, yeah, the weather didn't affect me too bad. Just the mud. I mean, which I guess I don't know if I really count that as weather more than like I don't know what you call it, terrain. Um, but yeah, the weather seemed okay. I mean, yeah, the weather was fine. Yeah, I don't know how else to say it. It was good.
Well, it's so interesting because like it just seems like I guess I'm used to like Cocodonas being like all the past 4 years has been hot and dry and dusty. Like everything is hot and
Sure.
dry and dusty. And then like obviously like up towards Flagstaff it's cooler, but like it's like what everybody was talking about. Maybe because it was just like visually so different this year that was like a huge talking point. But from like
Yeah.
talking to you now and then like Rachel yesterday, she was kind of like, yeah, I train in this all the time. Like this is wet, not a big deal.
Yeah. I mean, it's good. We had a crappy winter here in West Virginia, so not like super long, but it was like super cold. Like it's crazy. Like here in West Virginia, where I live, I mean, we'll get days it'll be negative degrees outside. That's like not uncommon. And then we'll get snow, which it doesn't always stay. But this year we had this crazy like it snowed for a couple of hours, then it rained for a couple of hours, and it snowed again, then it sleeted, and so we had like there was a time period in this city where we had most of the streets under like a 4 inch sheet of ice for like 2 weeks because we like don't have a great snow removal service, and a lot of our streets are like brick, and so they can't plow a brick street, I guess, or like salt it. And then once the ice is down, they can't really salt it because it stayed really cold. So I mean, we were just running in like a Arctic abyss for like 2 weeks up here. It was terrible.
Yeah, that sounds terrible, dude. That's why
It
I live
was
in a
really
desert.
bad. I kept falling, and I thought I had seriously injured myself. Yeah, it was rough.
That sounds terrible. Like I guess if the weather didn't affect you guys that much, like from a shooting perspective, it was actually really fun because like they just added like a new element to like shooting where it wasn't just like okay, here it is hot, here it is like
That's
somebody
cool.
running in an open area, like made it kind of fun. Uh,
Yeah, you're like another person pouring water over themselves shot.
yeah, like, which is like sick. Like don't get me wrong, like those shots at states, for example, are like epic, but it's like cool, we
Yeah.
can all do the exact same thing. It's like it's nothing unique. It's kind of fun to have rain and snow.
Yeah, it was nuts. I mean, sleet, dude. Going up on Eldon was nuts.
Yeah, I saw a video. I think Browning posted or somebody posted it, and it was like sleeting up there on you guys. I had no idea.
Dude, it was crazy. I mean, we're hiking up. It's kind of hot in the beginning, then it kind of getting colder. Storm rolls in, and then it starts just sleeting on us. And I was like, "What, dude?" So we had to stop. I had to put a hat on, a windbreaker, and my gloves. And I was like, "Dude, I'm glad I had all this stuff."
Yeah,
Which I mean, you had to anyway. But yeah, it was crazy. And then you go down over the other side, and you run for like a mile downhill. Well, not run, but you stumble down for about a mile, and it heated up like instantly. I had to take it all off. I was like sweating. It was
yeah.
nuts.
Well, what was that descent like? Because like I've gone up that descent a couple times, like because the actual trail used to be a part of like the last climb of Cocodona. But like coming
Okay.
down the live stream, it just looked absolutely brutal because it was like you're 250 miles in at
Yeah.
this point when you're like stair stepping down this like techie trail.
Yeah, it wasn't the smoothest trail. Like I said earlier, we couldn't find the gels, the caffeine gels that I had brought with me for that segment. Because my plan was, I was just going to take 700 milligrams of those puppies on that last segment. I was just going to start slamming them because like, it didn't matter then. I was like, I'll make it to the end. Um, but I couldn't find them, so I was just so sleepy. And we were going down this thing, and I thought I was going to snap my poles on multiple occasions because I got the super light ones, and I was like, man, I'm going to snap these things in half. I saw them multiple times bending way further than they should. And I was like, please don't snap, dude. But it was tough, man. It was just like one step at a time, just make your way down. And then as you get further down, there's a little more runnable sections, a little more runnable sections. And then until you get down on the flat part and you're kind of just like circumnavigating the mountain before you pop out into Buffalo Park. And we were able to start cooking it on that, which was good. Well, not cooking it, but we were running at least.
Relatively, you were cooking it.
Yeah, it felt like we were going 100 miles an hour and we were going like 11-minute pace.
I always find that so funny. Like after going so slow for so long, like suddenly you're just
Yeah.
shuffling. You're like, yeah, I'm cruising right now.
Yeah. You look at your watch, it's like 10:30. You're like,
You're like, yeah. It's like this can't be accurate, but it is.
yeah.
Oh, that's funny. So when did it like? Okay, so maybe like for you is like it's different than like most other people, but it seems like you delayed the like, besides that one part where you really needed to sleep by Deer Pass, but like when did it actually get hard for you? Because it just seemed like the whole time you're just like, I'm just going to cruise this thing in, just like keep going consistent. And it was like just pretty optimistic almost the entire time I saw you. So, like, was there a point where things were kind of like, okay, this is getting real?
I mean, definitely that was part of the plan though too, is like that's how I take on a lot of things. It's just blind optimism. Which I knew for this race I had to kind of keep it reeled in because you don't want to like kind of mentally like blow those stores of adrenaline too early, I'd imagine, and if something like this, I was like, you want to kind of keep your brain like calm, but also like happy. So going in, I was like, well, I'm so happy to be here. I can't even believe I'm here with 6 crew members that I'm just going to have a good time the whole time. And so I kind of took that with me the whole way. I mean, I definitely had some moments where I was like sleepy or really, really mad at the mud. But to be honest, I had no, it, it really wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Like as crazy as it sounds, like I don't want to discount the race at all because it was tough. But like, I mean, I had no blisters, I had no cramps, I never fell, I barely rolled my ankle once. I wasn't super cold. I didn't get hypothermia. I was able to eat the whole time. It went so well that like I can't really say it ever was that bad. The mud was the worst part. That's the reoccurring theme is the mud was the most aggravating, most depressing, worst part for me. Everything else was like kind of fine.
Dude, it's absolutely wild to me. Like,
I mean, it sounds ridiculous, and I know there's people who are gonna be like, "Oh, this guy sucks." Like you're full of it, dude. I don't know. That's what it felt like. So I'm sorry.
I mean, I guess if you train adequately for things and like know what you're doing, like things become a lot easier, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was just. I mean, we weren't moving very fast, and so as long as nothing was like cramping or like blown out or like torn, I mean, you're just kind of shuffling. And, like as long as you can keep eating and stay awake, like it's really not that. It's not too bad, if you've put in the time. So like it never really was like that terribly bad. It was fun the whole time. Like I looked like I was having fun because I was, I guess, in a crazy way.
Yeah, it's like 2.5 days of fun, right?
Oh, dude, it was a great vacation. That's what my boss kept telling me. He was like, dude, you're just going to have a freaking runcation. Freaking.
I mean, that's pretty much what it was, though. So
Yeah, dude.
nice, dude. So let's just like kind of wrap it up here. Like your experience overall, like coming out here. Like I know you've been out here before to Arizona, and like you
Mhm.
like paced and everything. But like, would you come out here and do it again? Was your experience that good that you'd want to come back and like race Cocodona for a second time?
Definitely. I mean, I don't know if it'll be next year. It might. I'd love to do it in a normal year, quote unquote, like maybe a hot year or like it's not wet. Because I think that's like the true air. That's the true Cocodona like way. But yeah, I would totally do it again. It was a blast. Like, it was marked good enough for me. And, yeah, it was great. I mean, it pulls a lot of attention. It's like worth your time. It's a beautiful race. Steve puts on a good race. I mean, he was super nice. Of course, it's an Aravaipa event, so it's always going to be like world class. And I would totally do it again. It was awesome. I love Arizona like that too. So like, if I can spend 2.5 days racing in Arizona instead of just 13 hours racing in Arizona, for sure I'll come out and do it again.
Nice. Dude. Is there anything that you would change about like your race this year?
I mean, more caffeine, more caffeine for sure, but nothing really. I mean, it went, like I said, it kind of went like really good. Like for my first one ever, I can't really complain. Like my crew did great. Um, whenever anyone paced me, it was awesome. Uh, you know, I wish I could have ran with other athletes. Like it was fun I talked to Jack Scott the most. I ran with him in the beginning for a while. Like he's the only person I actually like ran with for more than a mile. And it was just like super cool to hear his story and like talk to him about spine race and, like kind of hear like just a piece of somebody else's journey. Cause like you put so much into it and then you can like talk to somebody else who's in that same position. And it's kind of cool, especially when you're doing the thing, when you're actually out there doing it. And so that was awesome. He probably doesn't even remember me, but it was cool. It was super sick. So I guess I would like to have ran with more people, but then again, it is a race. So it's kind of like, you got to run by yourself at some point.
Yeah, I think at this point with 200s, like they're getting more competitive, but there still aren't enough competitive athletes to have like a top 10 pack to run more than a few miles together.
Yeah. I mean, that would be crazy.
Yeah, it'd be sick.
That'd be nuts. Especially like if you had we were talking about if I had come into Flag with Ryan and we're at the stoplights together.
Dude, that would have been nuts.
That would have been insane because it probably would have been, I was talking about it, it would have probably been illegal to like, you probably wouldn't have been allowed to just like throw your vest off on the ground, right?
Dude,
you would have had to you would have probably had to keep all your gear with you. So that way it wasn't like littering or something or like muling.
Yeah.
So you'd had to, maybe if you found a trash can, you could have thrown it away. Cause like technically you were just throwing something away.
Yeah.
Which I would have probably thought about doing. But it would have been nuts.
Just sprinting through the streets of Flagstaff to Heritage Square. Like...
Dude, people would not have known what was going on either. They'd have been like, these guys are just pacing each other. We'd have been out there just going nuts.
Dude, that'd actually be like the raddest finish of all time at a 200, like throwing down like the last mile or so, like in town and stopping some cars.
It'd be the fastest looking 8-minute pace you'd ever seen.
You'd probably drop the live stream, guys.
Yeah, they'd be like, this is ugly. They're like, this is really bad looking. Yeah. We'll cut to the finish.
Yeah, cut to the finish camera. But I think though, like in the future, like it'll come down, like because like States has gotten so much faster over the years. Where like Hayden and Rod finished on the track this year at the same time or last year. So like imagine a 200 like that. That's wild. Like, and it could happen. Like, I don't know. It's weird to think about, but it's also like like that 8-minute pace can be fun to watch.
Oh, pretty rough.
Nice, dude. Well, thanks for your time. Appreciate it. It was fun to talk.
Yeah.
And kind of catch up about your race a little bit.
Thank you, dude. Thanks for following along with everybody and doing what you do. So appreciate it.